The Pulse Radio Show, the QEH Pulse Radio Show, brought to you right here on Q100.7 FM with the kind compliments of MedSafe Medical Supplies.
A pleasant good morning to you, our listeners on Q100.7 FM for another edition of the Pulse Radio Show. I'm your host, Shane Seeley, communications specialist with the QEH. And of course, you know, the Pulse Radio Show is a production of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital as we try to make you more aware of everything that we're doing in hospital and the partnerships that we are forging to improve patient care and delivery of care to everyone who comes through our doors. We have been very busy recently, and you would have seen some correspondence from us recently in relation to some viral social media concerns raised. And as this show is all about hearing any concern the public may have, and we're trying to help you or help direct you in the best way possible. That's what we have been using this tool, the Pulse Radio Show, to do. Responding to your concerns. That's why we always ask you to call us and share your thoughts, share your compliments, share any problems you may have, and we try to just get you going in the right direction so that at the end of your journey with the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, you should have some level of satisfaction. Like anything in life, it's not 100%, but that's where we're aiming for. That's why you will see that we have recently been re-accredited. That gold status from Accreditation Canada, that shall take us through for another 2 years or so, and we will continue to do what we have to do on the ground to improve our standing, to improve our accreditation, and really deliver the care that Barbadians are demanding of us. As I said, we don't always get it right, but we're aiming to do just that. So back to this viral note that came out, a member of the public getting some information and expressing her concern about the blood levels at the hospital. And I would have responded with a communication after our executive team would have met and would have reviewed where we are at with our blood supply. And I would have sent out this communication which would have said that we acknowledge the concerns about the availability of blood and laboratory testing here in Barbados, but we did reassure the public that the current blood stock levels remain within our required minimum levels. So as Dr. the Most Honorable Corey Ford, he would have gone on Morning Barbados, our Director of Clinical and Diagnostic Services, and explained just this. You know, that our current blood stock levels remained within our required minimum levels. So there's a standard, we're still above the standard, but we're working to do that. So I would encourage everyone, to still, do what we would encourage them to do, which is to go to the blood bank and donate. Sometimes things happen and you have a withdrawal. And now we need people to go and donate blood so that we can have that deposit into the blood bank. And we want to keep those levels so that we can do our emergency surgeries and our elective surgeries as well. Enough about that for now, and we will keep the public updated as we always try to do during this show. But we have an important development to speak about today, the real crux of today's radio show. There's a project that has been in the works for some time, but we can now say that we have what is critically a life-saving project now active and ready to really get the wheels on it going. It's called the Metalyse Project, and it's all about reducing the complications of heart attacks. You would have heard this mentioned before right here on this season 3 of the Pulse Radio Show, from Dr. Anne-Marie Cruickshank, or head of AED. She's back with us today to talk a bit more about that. Good to have you back with us, Dr. Cruickshank. You've been busy with us this season. Your third appearance.
Yes, I have, Shane. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Always a pleasure to have you, because you know the people generally always want to hear about accident and emergency. And we want to share what's happening with the department, and we'll come back to that. But we also have a very special guest in Dr. Brian Charles. You will know him. He is a very popular man, but he has been behind the scenes doing so many things. But right now, he is managing director of the Sandy Crest and Coverley Medical Centers. He's also an emergency medicine specialist. Good to have you on. Any other titles that I should add to that? I'm pretty sure
there are
more.
There are more. That's okay. That's okay. Thanks for having me, Shane. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good to have you, because we really want to talk about this new collaboration with the hospital. You have been in discussions about this since the beginning with our Director of Medical Services, Mr. Anthony Harris. So we will want to talk about that in a minute. But Dr. Cruickshank, let me come back to you first to talk about the status of accident and emergency. Last time we chatted, we were coming out of one of those surges. We have decided going forward we want to share some more consistent communication with the public about how to use accident and emergency, and you'll see something launched very soon in relation to that. But how is AED doing at the moment? How are you doing, you and your team?
I think at the moment it is manageable. The number of patients to be seen today was manageable. So we're happy about that. We are at the moment experiencing some challenges with the lab, because the lab is now having an industrial clean.
Yes.
And they had to move from their original site to another site in the hospital, and also off-site from the hospital. So we're getting some delays in getting our blood results, but we have put contingency measures in place so that we can get results from external sources, external labs. Hopefully this will be the last week that the lab will be in not in their original position, and we're hoping by next week we will be back to getting our results in a timely manner.
Yeah, working around making those cogs in the wheel still work. As Dr. Cruickshank said, some delays, but we are working with our external partners to make sure that we get those tests done, and we will do what we have to do to ensure that care is not compromised during this period where the original laboratory is being industrially cleaned. And that is important, because we need to have our services in tip-top shape to really meet the needs and demands of the public. Now let's come to the Metalyse Project. Dr. Cruickshank spoke about this a few weeks ago, Dr. Charles. You were in it from the inception.
Yeah, yes.
Talk a bit about those early discussions and how this came about.
Right. So I like the term that you just used, external partners. The Metalyse Project is one of those external type projects where the public and private sectors get together for the betterment of the health of society of Barbados. And I think it was between Mr. Anthony Harris and Dr. Don Scantlebury and the Accident and Emergency Department, who are ably represented here, first started to discuss, listen, how are we going to try to reduce the complications from having heart attacks? And it is an easy way to do it through the drug that has been introduced, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later. But several years ago it started, and COVID sort of put a little curveball in the way, but thankfully that's gone, and we're back on track, and we're hoping to see very good results from this collaboration.
Yeah, and as far as I understand, I'm non-medical, so it's always good for me too to get the education on these initiatives to help break down the message for the average listener. Dr. Cruickshank, this project, how important is it for accident and emergency, and by extension the healthcare sector and those who need it most?
It's extremely important, because as we know, heart attacks can kill. So this project will definitely save lives. And the drug, as we said, is Metalyse. It's a clot buster, and it helps to dissolve that clot that is leading to the heart attack, that's causing the death of the heart muscle. So if we can get that drug started as soon as possible outside of the A&E, for example, in the private urgent cares, then we're on a good way to saving lives.
So when you have agencies and entities, healthcare facilities like Sandy Crest and Coverley coming into this mix, explain from your end, and then I'll let Dr. Cruickshank come in on her end to explain how this works. Someone presents with a situation, they feel ill, they may not be sure what there is happening to them, and they come to either Sandy Crest or Coverley Medical.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. What I would like to say is even to start a little bit before, just to let the public know that, you know, heart attacks are one of the consequences of poor lifestyles and genetics. And the real big crux of the matter, everyone is hearing about NCDs, non-communicable diseases. That's where the heart attack starts from. So those of us who have hypertension and diabetes and obesity and, you know, sedentary lifestyles, that starts the process to lead on to what can cause a heart attack.
Okay.
Now, the heart attack now is when at really late in the process, where there is a clot that blocks an artery that feeds vital muscle in the heart. Now, if that clot is allowed to what I like to call cement, you know, like if you have wet cement and you put a hose on it, it washes away. If you can wash away that clot, then there's no consequence to your heart attack. There's no consequence to the blockage in the artery for the heart. But if you allow that clot to cement, then there's damage further on to the heart muscle. And when that heart muscle is damaged, there's no reversing. There's no coming back. And that's when you get the complications, heart failure, and at the end of the spectrum, death. So Dr. Cruickshank mentioned about heart attacks can cause death, heart attacks can cause complications. You want to try to address these early. So you want to address it when the clot or the cement is soft, so you can wash it away.
And that's where the Metalyse comes in?
That's where the drug comes in, Metalyse. Now, if you remember what I just said, you want to do it in a certain time, right? So we have the drug, but more importantly is the time at which the drug is administered. And this is where the entire project, that's the idea of having the project. Getting that drug to you, the public, early if you have a heart attack. So from the first presentation, if you have the non-communicable disease, you have a higher risk of having a heart attack. When you have things like chest pain or nausea, sweating, palpitations, and you think something is wrong, you go to the urgent care center. They do a special test called an electrocardiogram, and that's just a big word. We see it on TV all the time,
right.
EKG, ECG, but it's a heart test that tests to see whether or not there is actual blockage of one of those arteries leading to the muscle. It can also be supported by blood tests and, of course, you telling us what's wrong with you, your history. So those three things make us decide whether or not you are having a heart attack or not.
Okay.
And if you have a heart attack and you catch it early, then you can be a candidate for this drug to be administered early, and you save that life that Dr. Cruickshank just spoke of, or you save the complication that we are alluding to.
Yeah.
So the thing is, you present to the emergency department or you present to an urgent care center, and that diagnosis is made early, then we can give that drug if it's available.
Perfect. I'm glad you set the scene, and of course then we'll come to the role of AED in all of this as well. Remember, you can call us 434-1007 or 434-1070. You can also send us a WhatsApp at 434-1007. We'll take a quick break, and we've got to thank MedSafe Medical Supplies for continuing to support the Pulse Radio Show.
For all your medical supply needs, visit MedSafe Medical Supplies Limited. We offer a wide range of products including wheelchairs, walkers, canes, crutches, blood pressure machines, stethoscopes, and so much more. Conveniently located on Gemmett's Lane, just a 2-minute walk from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And for your convenience, we deliver free to the QEH. Open Monday to Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Call us at 624-7542. MedSafe Medical Supplies Limited, your trusted source for medical essentials.
We're speaking about the Metalyse Project and reducing those complications of heart attacks right here on the Pulse Radio Show. With me explaining how it all happens and is coming together is Dr. Brian Charles, emergency medicine specialist and managing director of Crest and Coverley Medical Centers, and of course our very own Dr. Anne-Marie Cruickshank, the head of the Accident and Emergency Department at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Before we go to Dr. Cruickshank to explain the connection now between these urgent care centers on the outside like Crest and Coverley, and then the AED and how that plays a role in helping that patient recover. Let's go to the phone lines. We have our first caller for the morning. Good morning. Welcome to Pulse Radio Show. How can we help?
Hi. Yes, sir. Hi. How are you doing, Shane?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Blessings. All is well. Thank you very much. Let me thank Kimberly so much for taking my call. I really have to appreciate her. Listen, Shane, a couple of things here this morning. My first question is, why don't you implement accident insurance for those patients who come more than once with the same thing? Because we will note that yes, you can get an injury you can get an injury once and recover from it. But if you're going to come with the same injury all the time, the same injury more than once, you will want to get accident insurance. I don't know how that will work, but you will want to get it so that you're covered, so that you're able then to ease the process of if you get accidents on purpose then, and these kind of things that happen in life. Because in terms of the A&E, you will know that you will want to not only indemnify, but you will want to really predict the future accurately every time, so that these surges don't happen, so that these things don't occur. My final question very quickly, Shane. Based on the aspect of the, and let me thank you so much, based on the aspect of in A&E and these crises that come upon us, these pandemics and the heat crisis that's about to come upon us, and the mental health crisis that we're in currently, what is the hospital doing to ensure that you basically, and pardon the pun, you get insurance for people to be safeguarded as much as possible, because the AC works, and it works well so that it keeps them not only from fluctuating but be stable. In other words, if a person comes in hot, you cool them down, but you don't want them to get that hot. You want them to remain cool instead of going back to a regular temperature. You want them to remain cool. So it's just basically tweaking these settings as much as possible to keep stability, to keep insurance, and to keep an area of condition, so that the patients are conditioned in a way that will prevent the A&E and that will prevent them, and that will keep the A&E working as best as possible. Thanks, man. God bless you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Dr. Cruickshank answer part of your second question, but as far as the insurance, we encourage those who can afford it to get health insurance, because it's always good to have that backup, that fallback in the event that something happens to you and you need to make alternative arrangements for your health care. It's always great to have health insurance once you can afford it. As far as A&E and dealing with people, I know it's getting a bit warm now. We can see outside is getting hot. Dr. Cruickshank could speak to how many patients she would have heard of coming through the department with ailments from last summer, which was really hot as well. But I don't think it was significant. But it's a good thing that with the expansion and with the upgrades that came for accident and emergency, the entire department is now air conditioned. So you can come into a cooler atmosphere and really be treated as necessary. Right, Dr. Cruickshank?
Yes, and ironically, last weekend I was told the department was extremely cold.
Wow.
And the concern was that we needed to speak to engineering to regulate the temperature.
Right.
So we really don't have to worry about the air condition at the moment, because as you rightly said, the entire department is air conditioned, and we do have showers in several of the areas that we can, do a shower and try to reduce the temperature of patients. So I think at the moment we're not too bad with respect to the impending heat concerns that will be coming
Indeed.
our way.
Shane, hello?
Yes, still here.
Shane?
Mhm.
Yeah, sorry. Just a very quick appendage here, an appendix.
Very quick,
an appendage.
very quick.
Yeah, thanks. What or for what reason is the atmosphere kept cool for certain illnesses that children have, that teenagers have, in terms of when they actually want it to be hot and the place is cool? In other words, you have a woman coming in with diabetes, and her baby, her fetus might need that heat instead of cool. What?
I think what you could probably let
What is going to be done for that? Thank you.
Dr. Cruickshank or even
Yes,
Dr. Charles here explain is how we manage conditions for people as they come in relation to the heat. But as far as the air conditioning is concerned, that is only to just create a more comfortable environment.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, the answer
Thank you.
basically is human and personal comfort. It's not that you have to keep someone cool or keep someone warm or anything like that. It's just for the patient's comfort. I understand sometimes, it's not entirely right for everyone, but we try to make it as pleasant as possible for the majority.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your questions. Always good hearing you. We hope that we answer them, and of course, again, thank you for your contribution. So, Dr. Charles, we were moving from you, and of course, the treatment using that drug, the Metalyse drug, to then escorting that patient most of the time via ambulance to the accident and emergency. Is that what happens? And then they come to you, Dr. Cruickshank. What happens next?
Well, as Dr. Charles had rightly said, we are now distributing these Metalyse to the urgent care centers.
Right.
And Dr. Charles is representing Sandy Crest and Coverley, but we also have two other urgent care centers, which is Urgent Care Medical and Elcourt Clinic.
Okay.
So we have a total of 4 urgent care centers that are part of this project.
Right.
Right? So they will be given their vial of Metalyse, and they will, as Dr. Charles rightly said, if the history, the physical examination, the ECG, and the point of care blood support strongly that the patient is having a heart attack, they're supposed to call into to the hospital to speak to the cardiologist on call and discuss the case with them. The cardiologist will rightly, hear the case and will give permission for the Metalyse to be used. Right? Because Metalyse does have side effects. So we want to make sure that we're using it correctly and in the right setting. Once that permission is granted, the urgent care center will administer the Metalyse, and the patient will be monitored at least for 1 hour carefully until they are stable, then to transfer to the A&E where we will continue the care.
Right. So how does this make for a more efficient handling of the patient?
Right. So if I may answer this. So we're speaking about someone who has a confirmed blockage in an artery to the heart, and we want to remove that blockage by using this drug called Metalyse. Metalyse has a disadvantage. There are a couple of disadvantages of Metalyse. One, it has a very short shelf life. And secondly, and probably more importantly to both the consumer as well as the provider, is that Metalyse is very expensive, which means that it's not available, very easily to everyone. However, it is more expensive for us to manage the complications of a heart attack, more expensive socially for someone to die and from a heart attack when it could have been prevented. So the QEH, Ministry of Health, the government has come together to say, well, look, through Dr. Scantlebury and this project, look, listen, let us try to see if we can get one step ahead and try to get the Metalyse, which can be given to the Barbadian public free of cost at the hospital, let us get this drug distributed to the urgent care centers so that we can give it to the patients that need it early. Because remember, I mentioned again that concrete clot needs to be washed away early for it to be effective. The only way that it's going to be really effective is if we can give it early, and we ask that the persons who come to the urgent care centers or the accident and emergency department get it early so that we can reduce the complications from the heart attack. Now, if what the QEH has done is to make it remove that step from having to be transferred from the private urgent care centers to the QEH to get the medication by giving the medication to the urgent care centers. And this, because the patients will eventually get into the hospital, this is just an extension of the hospital treatment, but given at the private urgent care centers. So I'm hoping that this is clear. It is not that the urgent care centers have the medication and are waiting to give it to the patients. It is actually being given as a courtesy from the QEH to the urgent care centers so that the general public can get it early, and we can hence reduce the complications and the deaths from MIs, from heart attacks.
And I think right there at the end is the important part, reducing that mortality rate.
Yes.
Bringing it right down. We have another caller on the Pulse Radio Show. Welcome, caller. How can we help?
Peace be unto each and every one. A blessed and spirit-filled angel season to you, Sean, to your wonderful guests, and to the listeners.
Thank you as always. How are you doing?
I'm thankful for life. It ain't how I would like it, but I'm thankful. I'm in the land of the living this morning, so I give thanks.
How can we help?
I didn't get back any answer from you, so I want to know if this message I got at others is if it is real, because
this is about the shoes.
Yeah, because I have an elderly person who really want to go to church, but they had surgery on one of their feet and is unable to get out. You know, she says she really want to go to church. So if this is really true, I would ask the daughter to you know, send in the application. You didn't hear anything?
No, and I only saw the message from you, so that is, you know, probably telling. I will still double check, but what I'll ask you to do also is call 536-4800.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah, that number. The number is for the patient advice and liaison service. They are always.
Oh, you hold a minute. Let me write the number down.
Yeah, you go ahead.
You said it's
536-4800.
4800.
I'm
Thank
surprised
you.
you don't know that number by heart.
Huh?
I'm surprised you don't know that number by heart. Yeah, that's our patient advice and liaison service. So I always encourage anyone, you know, whenever they have a challenge, whenever they want to know about their health situation, number. You know, you have an appointment but you're unsure if you're, you know, if it has been put back or if it's on schedule. You should always, you know, make a call to the patient advice and liaison service.
Okay, well, I keep it in my phone. I keep it on the album app.
Yeah, please do. Thank you very much for calling.
All right, have a blessed weekend.
Not weekend yet. Not weekend yet. We got a whole week ahead. I don't want to see the weekend yet.
Stay safe, everyone, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. No, don't rush the week. My vacation is now starting, so I just want to enjoy that. But it's always a pleasure to be here with you on the Pulse Radio Show, of course, sharing the information, especially when we have initiatives like these. How big of a difference, Dr. Cruickshank, will this make in terms of what you would have seen before in treating patients coming in with heart attacks?
Yes, it's very disheartening when you see young people coming in with heart attacks, and we're behind, right?
And you say young people. When you say young people,
I've seen persons in their late 30s have heart attacks and early 40s, and they present either dead on arrival or they're coming in with the complications of the heart attack. That's very disconcerting to see that. So therefore, this project is extremely important in that when these patients present to the urgent care centers, they can start the drug right away. Because we have a timeline. Usually they say 12 hours. So we're behind the clock if they come to the A&E without having the drug. So if they do present to the urgent care centers and they have the drug, they can start it. And then when they transfer to A&E, we are in a good position now to continue their care.
But outside of that, they can also come directly to
Yes,
A&E?
of course. They can come directly to the A&E once they're starting to feel unwell, chest pain, any of those symptoms where they're not sure what's happening.
Yeah.
They can definitely come directly to the A&E.
But of course, it depends on where you are in the island. So if you're in St. Lucie, first closest place is somewhere like Sandy Crest.
Yeah. And the crucial thing is the time factor, right? Dr. Cruickshank mentioned the window of 12 hours. Even the earlier within that 12 hours, the better, because the concrete is starting to get hard.
I like how you explain it.
Yeah, so the earlier the better. They have removed the issue with transportation from the urgent care center to the hospital to get it, so that will save some hours, right? And hence, we're once this project is is on the way, we know we're going to start to see less complications, less deaths from the heart attacks.
You're listening to the Pulse Radio Show right here on Q100.7 FM as we discuss the Metalyse Project, reducing the complications of heart attacks with Dr. Henry Cruickshank and Dr. Brian Charles. I'm Shane Seeley. We'll take a quick break and be right back with more on the Pulse Radio Show.
For all your medical supply needs, visit MedSafe Medical Supplies Limited. We offer a wide range of products including wheelchairs, walkers, canes, crutches, blood pressure machines, stethoscopes, and so much more. Conveniently located on Gemmett's Lane, just a 2-minute walk from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And for your convenience, we deliver free to the QEH. Open Monday to Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Call us at 624-7542. MedSafe Medical Supplies Limited, your trusted source for medical essentials.
So as Dr. Charles said, if you're living with complications of chronic non-communicable diseases, this program is definitely for you. If you are, one of those patients or one of those members of the public at higher risk of having a heart attack, this information is critical for your survival. Of course, Dr. Brian Charles with us, emergency medicine specialist and managing director of Sandy Crest and Coverley Medical Centers, and Dr. Henry Cruickshank, the head of the accident and emergency department at our Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Those numbers to call: 434-1007 and 434-1070. If you're shy, you can send a WhatsApp still at 434-1007. We will definitely have a response and an answer for your query, question, complaint, and or compliment. Dr. Charles, you mentioned something at the top when you were introducing, those people having complications with their chronic non-communicable diseases, those CNCDs. On this season, we want to be proactive. You're a very fit person. You still make sure that you keep that engine in tip-top shape. Exercise, good diet. Talk about the things that some of our population who increasingly, as we see every day, becoming more sedentary in their lifestyle, more overweight, eating unhealthy. Tell us some of the things that you would advise people to do that could help turn around these situations that we see with people living with diabetes, hypertension, and the list goes on.
Yes. So that's a very good question and pertinent and important to everyone. There are a list of factors that would tend to put you at increased risk of an NCD. There are factors that you have no control over, and there are factors that you can control very easily. The factors that you have no control over are who your mother and father are. You have no control over your parents, over who your parents are. So if you are handed down what I call the bad news genes, where you're likely to have diabetes and hypertension in the family, then you can't do anything about that. but all is not lost. On the other hand, there are a multitude of factors that you can address that would reduce the risk of the NCDs significantly. The first one I would say is activity. We tend to have a sedentary type lifestyle where we work Monday to Friday, 8 to 4, we come home, we're tired, we have the kids to look after, we have to get ready for work the next morning, so we watch 4 hours of television to relax, and then we go to sleep for a very short time, and then we start the cycle again. On weekends, because nothing has been done during the week, we have all this the same thing to do during the weekend, so there's no activity. We need to address that. We need to take charge of our time and make time for activity and make time for exercise. Now, be careful. Making time for exercise doesn't necessarily mean I'm telling you go and join a gym, or I'm telling you go and run around wherever. Walk up, instead of taking the elevator, walk up a flight of stairs. When you go to work, park your car if you're early, park your car at the furthest point in the car park and walk to work. If you have school children, play with them. You know, our generations now are hooked on the screens. Let us spend some time with them exercising. Okay,
Yeah.
So exercise is one.
I want you to stick a pin there because also I want you to add in the consistency of that exercise and explaining how important that is. We do have a caller on the phone line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the Pulse Radio Show. How can we help you?
Good morning
Hi, good morning.
to the panel and to Shane.
Morning.
I am a patient. I was a patient in QEH for the last 2 weeks, but my concern is having gone to Coverley, and you need to get an ambulance service from Coverley, whether it's private or government. It's not available. So my concern is there a system that can be put in place where the private person that is taking you can go directly through the ambulance department? That is one of my concerns.
Okay, I can answer that easily. There is no facility where you can go directly to the ambulance service to get transported to another facility. When you go to any urgent care center, the doctors there will make an evaluation and deem whether or not you need to be referred. Now, referred to a hospital, private hospital or public hospital. Now, you've mentioned an ambulance, which means that you were ill enough to be referred onwards.
Yes.
If the doctors are asking for an ambulance to take you, it means that you are not safe to be transported privately. The ambulance can get you there faster, as well as the ambulance has staff on the ambulance that can deal with some things that will happen, or at least document things that happen on route.
I agree with that,
Yeah.
but since neither one of the ambulances are available, the urgent care is closing at 7:30. You're supposed to be transported to the QEH.
Yes.
None of the ambulances, whether private or government, is available.
Yes.
You have to be taken by a private person.
Yes.
My suggestion to that is that if when you get there, you get some sort of service, because I was a patient there. I stayed 5 hours in the emergency room. It is only after I started getting to vomit, after going for a letter from the urgent care, Coverley, that I was attended to. I don't think that it's a way of being have accredited hospital having accreditation, and you're getting that type of service.
Okay, we will respond to that question in a minute, but I'm pretty sure you have another comment as well. But before you get to that, please turn down your radio. We're hearing the feedback.
Oh,
here.
so I'm
That's
sorry.
okay. Just listen to the phone line, and so that we can have this discussion. And I'm really sorry for the experience you had, and it's your comments and what you're sharing with us that would help us to improve.
Yes.
Dr.
That's
Cruickshank,
what I'm looking for, is improvement. I'm not condemning anything. I'm just looking for improvement. I'm just saying that if I have to take a private vehicle from Coverley to the hospital, it's 6 o'clock in the evening where traffic is terribly saying I'm having palpitations. My blood pressure is 185/95, and I had morphine 40 milligrams, but I have to go in the private. Then I cannot go through the ambulance department because it's not the ambulance. I go into the sitting room of the hospital, in the emergency room. I hand in a letter. I don't know what they did with the letter. However, I sat there for 5 hours. Unfortunately, the reason why I did it is because after I got up after the 5 hours, it was pretty cold, like Dr. Cruickshank said. It was really cold, but there are no blankets either, and you didn't leave home to go with no sweater or anything, so you're there shivering. I just got up and I said, I just let these people know what is happening to me. But when I got up, I started to vomit. So that is when I got attention after 5 hours of going to Coverley, and after sitting outside for 5 hours waiting, I saw 3 other patients discharge themselves from the hospital. One was two accident patients, and they did just discharge themselves. It's not that yesterday they're busy, but if you're going there for an emergency, I think at least the person who's doing the admission or clerk or whatever, just open the letter. Just open the letter and see what's happening. Explain yourself, but open the letter and see what's happening with the patient.
Yeah. What is supposed to happen in a situation like that, Dr. Cruickshank?
Okay, I like the word she said, emergency. Everybody is in an emergency.
I know
right?
that, Dr.
And therefore
Cruickshank.
we have triage.
I get that, but what I don't want y'all to miss what I'm saying. I did go to an emergency department already. I had to use a private vehicle to come to you. I think there should be some sort of maybe a red flag or they put on that vehicle that when they get to your department, they can be admitted into the emergency ambulance section where you're attended to. I am a heart patient, a blood pressure of 185/95, palpitations of 130, and I stayed out there for 5 hours.
Okay, so let Dr. Cruickshank answer your question, and then let's see if we could get some more clarity here. Go ahead, Dr. Cruickshank.
So I always have to ask what is happening in the department at the time patients arrive. Because if we're in a surge, everybody is an emergency and everybody's a category 3 or a 2 or even a 1.
But right? I probably was 1. I probably was a 2 or 3, maybe another 1.
No, you wouldn't be a 1 because 1 is resuscitation. So if you could tell me what happened, you would not have been a 1. But I would assume that you probably would have been a 2 or a category 3. And 3s are our most common triage category. I agree with you, a blood pressure of 185 systolic is disturbing. And if you've had symptoms, yes, that is also a concern. But I can't answer because I'm not sure what would have happening in the department at that time. Because if we're in a surge and all the treatment rooms are full and the corridors have patients in, everybody's in an emergency. And sometimes, unfortunately, we cannot get to everybody in a timely manner. Obviously, when your symptoms worsened and you went to ask a question, they then realize, yes, we have to get you in because you now are having symptoms, which is a concern. So I can't really answer you categorically as to why you waited 5 hours because I need to know what was happening at the time of your arrival.
And it would be good if you can, share some of these details of your account with our patient advice and liaison service, and also clinical risk, so we can examine what exactly happened, and that would actually give you a better understanding of the response at that time. But it's also something that we can investigate and correct, as you rightly said, because you call because you want to help. You call to alert us about the situation. You call because you want us to help. So that is definitely a way that this account can help to improve our services. So please make that call to 536-4800, and they can also channel you to clinical risk as well, so that we can have this documented and have something put in place to correct situations like these.
Shane, if
I have one other question.
No problem.
Before you go on, caller, before you go on, just...
I would want to hear that other question. Dr. Charles has something to add.
Very, very
quickly.
quickly.
Dr. Charles.
I just want to take off my private care hat and go back into the accident and emergency department. I grew up in the accident and emergency department, 21 years there, and I will tell you it is a common misconception that patients who arrive by ambulance get priority treatment. as Dr. Cruickshank rightly said, there is a process of triage that is universal to the department. So persons who come by ambulance, even if they come with the flashing red lights and whatever, and someone who comes by a car, the triage is the same. So you asking about your initial question was about the ambulance transport. The thing is that once you get there, there is a level of categorization which they all do for everyone. And the fact that you came with a letter from Coverley Medical and had to wait 5 hours sort of hints to me that there were other things in the department that caused that delay. And we are sorry. I'm certainly sorry to hear that you had to wait that long. I'm glad that you came out of it and you're well now. But it's not the ambulance transport that gets you into the accident and emergency department as a priority. It's the degree of sickness that you have, and the staff are trained to break down that level of sickness.
I think I am not. I don't know if I'm putting myself over, but the correct way. But the way how I am also I was also in the medical field, so I know what. There are certain things that has to be done, the priorities, whether it's asthma, breathing, or heart attack. These are your priorities at any emergency institution.
Yes.
However, I just feel, in all fairness, that the way how it was done, when the letter was open in front of me, so it means that nobody knew it was there for the 5 hours. It was just, the letter was just taken, put there, you register, although you explain yourself, it's left there. Then only after I started to vomit, it becomes an emergency, as I said before.
Right.
However, I have another question for you.
And I want you to keep that question after we come back from this quick commercial break. So stay on the line. We want to get your questions. We want to hear from you. Don't go anywhere. The Pulse Radio Show is brought to you by MedSafe Medical Supplies.
For all your medical supply needs, visit MedSafe Medical Supplies Limited. We offer a wide range of products including wheelchairs, walkers, canes, crutches, blood pressure machines, stethoscopes, and so much more. Conveniently located on Gemmett's Lane, just a 2-minute walk from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And for your convenience, we deliver free to the QEH. Open Monday to Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Call us at 624-7542. MedSafe Medical Supplies Limited, your trusted source for medical essentials.
Back with you on the Pulse Radio Show as we were responding to a caller there who would have had a recent experience with our accident and emergency department. A caller, you're still there, right? Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Right, good that
Yeah,
you're still
I'm
there.
here.
You said you had a second question for us.
I, on observation on the floor of the hospital, they have, I'm accustomed to saying the word code. You all are saying crisis. But when you have a crisis at the hospital, all hands are on deck. How could all hands be on deck on the floor when you have 23 other patients? So the 23 other patients are neglected because all the hands are on for that one patient. You have 2 patients on the floor with tracheostomies to be suctioned. They might be in, that is like normal. It comes up. All the clinical you would need to be suctioned. There's nobody available because all hands are on deck for that one patient. I think there should be a different system for that. I know there was a different system in my time, but now it seems all hands should be on deck. However, I suggest that since there are like 6-7 medical students around the consultants, that something could be put in place. Something could be put in place that the medical students could be involved, and just two or three of the nurses of the floor can be on all hands on deck.
Well, I'll say to you, just an initial answer to that question, Dr. Cruickshank will get more in depth in terms of the response in AED. But as part of our strategy, our 25 to 28 strategy over the next 3 years, we are getting more staff across the board, and a lot of that staff has been
I
pledged
know, Shane.
for-
Even by the time we get more staff, how much of us are going to be gone?
no, but,
Okay, let's be realistic about this.
Yeah, but
I mean,
so let's
you
talk
have
about being realistic. Everything is a process, so it can't happen overnight. These things will take time to flow in to fruition, to come to fruition. Sorry, and you have to start, and then you tick off some of those goals that you meet along the way. And one of those good goals is that we've been pledged more staff, and I think that they're coming very, very soon, right, Dr. Cruickshank?
Yes, and we do have more medical doctors now than we did many years ago.
Right.
But what I want to address to the call, I'm trying to understand that I'm clear on what she's saying.
Right.
That she may have seen an emergency, she may have heard an alert go out that all hands on deck, i.e., the condition is such that more doctors would have been needed to
Right.
manage that emergency, probably in the resuscitation room or in one of the treatment rooms. Am I correct, caller?
I did not. I don't. You don't even hear an alert anymore. I don't. I have been going there for a few times. I don't usually hear an alert because apparently it's all hands on deck, on the floor. Maybe on the other hand too, with the phone. Now that nurses have telephones and doctors have telephones, the regular phone rings off. Nobody answers it sometimes. You're the patient, then you're watching saying that maybe there's my family calling or somebody calling, but nobody answers the phone. The phone just rings off. And the operators can say for that they don't answer phones anymore on the floor. Everybody has a phone. You know.
I'll say this. I'll give you an example. When people don't reach me on my office phone, they call my cell phone.
Well, there you go. Well, thank you. But I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is with the all hands on deck, I did ask some person in authority about it, and they gave me the same answer: all hands on deck, all nurses on the floor on deck for that one patient.
But
in my time, we had a system where some person was in charge of the board, suction, the ambu bag, and the cart was fully equipped there. And I don't know. I give up.
All right, caller, what I want to say to you is that times move and things change.
And things change, but not for better.
We're not going to have it. But yes, we do have a system where you may not have heard the alert, but there is an alert that is given out if we need more doctors and nurses present to manage a Category 1 or an emergency in the resuscitation room or in the treatment rooms. That doesn't mean that all hands on deck are going to be on deck for 8 or so hours, because that patient requires more care than one doctor alone can provide.
Dr. Cruickshank, excuse me, I'm not saying that. I understand all that. I've been in this field for 40-something years. I understand that. But I'm saying if all hands are on deck, there's still 23 more patients on the floor. At least 2 people should be around to take care.
All right, so
that is all I'm saying.
When we have to go to resuscitation, the shift leader, the doctor in charge, will decide how many staff members he or she needs, and then she will stand down the other doctors and nurses to go back to the floor to manage those patients.
That experience I didn't have. The other thing is on Ward C6.
I'll tell you this, caller, before you go on, because we have to get to another caller.
I know. I'm sorry.
But the accident and emergency department now is 18,000 square feet. Double the size it was before.
In Dr. Charles's time, who was the former head of A&E.
Right. No one patient will be able to see everything that goes on in that 18,000 square footage of space. So you may see things that, see operations, but there are other operations going on simultaneously, and that's why I alerted you to the fact that increased population of medical staff that we have now to cover the doubling of the size and square footage of the accident and emergency department is critical in managing multiple situations like what you would have just described.
I don't know, Shane. I'm sorry, but
It's
I'm
all right.
telling you.
I understand what you would have seen, and we would go by what you saw. But I'm just giving you what is happening.
In the medical profession, only thing change are drugs, but the system is the same. Okay, only change and the equipment, but the system where people. Trust me up.
I got you. But listen, the only thing constant in life is change.
I know changes,
and we're making some change.
I love you. Thank you.
At the hospital, and we really thank you for sharing what you saw and sharing your experience and sharing your wealth of knowledge on what happens in there. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, dear. Bye bye.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Let's go to the final caller for the Pulse Radio Show today. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the Pulse Radio Show. How can we help?
Yes. Good morning, Shane.
Good morning.
Yeah, I had three things to say, but I don't know if I may get to it though.
See if we can get through. Go ahead.
Yeah, mostly maybe to the doctor. I don't know if I have her name right. Dr. Cruickshank.
Dr. Anne-Marie Cruickshank.
Cruickshank, right?
Cruickshank.
And good morning to Dr. Charles.
Morning.
Good morning.
No, the last time I went to the accident and emergency was in 2023 for work on limb.
Mm-hmm.
And I already know that the accident emergency is completely closed off. Whereby, like one thing, you could stand and see the doctors, the nurses could stand and see you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a complete closed-off system where nobody can see the patients. I don't know if it changed since 2023.
Well, definitely because it's twice the size.
Remember, we moved into the new A&E in 2024.
It has changed since 2023.
So we're in the new A&E now.
So the doctors can see the patients now.
Well, the doctors always see the patient. Dr. Charles, you're just chopping at the bit here. Go ahead, Dr. Charles.
Let him get his 3 points in because
because what I'm saying, while I was there that time, and I had to wait about 18 hours, but I didn't mind because I was not critical. But there was a young lady there that was waiting long, and she just got to use her phone, and she just hit on the ground, boom. And people had to run to the doors and boom and beat at the doors because no medical personnel could see us. And the came up with this stretcher and they rushed in with her. And I really don't know if she made it. Now too, there used to be an upstairs part of the A&E where around the same time where they would deal with the more critical persons, right? Because I remember being up there because my mother was up there with her.
Is there still upstairs, Dr.
No,
Cruickshank?
we don't. As I said, we moved into the new A&E in 2024,
right.
so everything is on one floor.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, no, that was supposed to be the critical part.
No, we don't have that
I went
anymore.
to visit her, and I was up there alongside her bed for 4 hours. And for that 4 hours, no one came and checked her or looked at her or asked, you know what I mean? And she was supposed to be critical. But since then, she passed on because she was even sent home in a critical state. And I didn't think that was good, that was good enough. Now, 3, a nephew of mine who had a heart condition. The ambulance came in, and he was 29 at the time. And he went at the hospital. The ambulance, the medics went to the machine before the move, checked the rates. That was a heart problem. The siren was on, and we went to town. But yet, while at the hospital, although it was presented to the hospital that this boy has a heart condition, we got medical students coming out. But yes, the medical students have to learn. But I mean, with a heart condition, it should be action straight away, and as a result of that, taking that long way, this young juniors come to question him, and so when Doctor I can't remember his name now, English fellow came, that is a senior. He said this fellow has to go to surgery, but at that time then it was too late.
Well, I'm glad that you can share these accounts of as you said, 2023. Since then, we've made a number of changes in the accident and emergency and in the leadership, not only at the accident and emergency, but at the hospital in general. These that you have explained are situations that we are taking corrective action to amend and improve on. We
in the name of progress.
Yeah. We thank you for these accounts. But as I told the last caller,
and I'm glad to hear that.
Is change.
Yes, sir.
And the winds of change are definitely with us at the hospital, and we're trying as best as we can, along with the executive team, the management, and the staff on the ground, medical and ancillary, to move in a better direction.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing these stories. But it's good that we can move on to better things, especially through this Metalyse project.
Yeah.
I'll give you both 30 seconds. Final words from you, Dr. Cruickshank.
I'm just happy to partner with Dr. Charles and his team and the other urgent care centers to assist us to reduce the complications of heart attack.
Dr. Charles?
Yes, and now we have the drug that's going to be the clot buster that's going to save a lot of us from heart attacks and the complications. So please come early if you have any suspicion of chest pain problems.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And you have options, as you heard, of course, the urgent care centers, including Coverley and, of course, Sandy Crest. And you can come straight to the QEH as well, where we are in a better position to help you avoid what could be a really bad situation, especially with your heart condition. Thank you for listening to another edition of the Pulse Radio Show. Of course, I had with me Dr. Anne Cruickshank, head of AED, and also Dr. Brian Charles. He's leading the medical centers, Coverley and Sandy Crest. He is a specialist in the field. I'm Shane Seeley. I'll see you next week. Next week we should be sharing that diabetes show. It was a very popular one, so you will be hearing more on diabetes and that chronic disease next week on the Pulse Radio Show. See you then.
The Pulse Radio Show brought to you with the kind compliments of MedSafe Medical Supplies.
For all your medical supply needs, visit MedSafe Medical Supplies Limited. We offer a wide range of products including wheelchairs, walkers, canes, crutches, blood pressure machines, stethoscopes, and so much more. Conveniently located on Gemmett's Lane, just a 2-minute walk from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And for your convenience, we deliver free to the QEH. Open Monday to Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Call us at 624-7542. MedSafe Medical Supplies Limited, your trusted source for medical essentials.